At all times, you're experiencing nothing but the divine, but it is conditioned by the state or the level of your awareness. And the instrument that you're observing with is very limited. Sight, smell, taste, touch, hearing, all of this. The frequencies of vibration that you are perceiving through the senses is very limited. What happened to frequencies below and above these that you are aware of? Does it exist? Yes, but you're not aware of it. And then further, whatever experiences you're having through the senses is further interpreted by the mind. And depending on the state of your mind, that is how you are relating to the sensual experience. So at all time, even though it's nothing but the divine you're experiencing, it is conditioned by the state of how much, what information you have, inputs in the mind, how much the mind is conditioned by so many things, by virtue of whether you're a man, a woman, young, old, whatever the condition is of the body. Further, you're conditioned by society, by religion, nationality, and so on and on and on. How do you rise above all of this to have direct experience or true experience of the absolute reality? That is the project of yoga. And everything that you experience or you're doing, all the disciplines that you're involved in, that you call yoga, is really to help you to have control of the mind. How is the mind controlled? Through developing focus and concentration. If the mind is not focused, not concentrated, then it is scattered. So you can't experience peace of mind. Without peace, there is happiness. There is no happiness without peace of mind. The mind cannot experience peace unless the defects in the mind are corrected. And to the extent that you're able to focus the mind and develop concentration, that's the extent to which you'll experience peace of mind. It's so very basic. If the mind is scattered, everything that you're doing is only to agitate the mind, then you're working against this very thing that you crave and desire, to be happy. Happiness comes from peace. Peace comes from peace of mind. Mind will never be peaceful unless it is focused and concentrated. So everything that you're doing, all the disciplines, is really to achieve this objective. If whatever you're doing is scattering the mind and creating more agitation in it, it means that your approach to your practice is wrong, or the practice is not suitable, it's not right. Because you'll never reach the desired goal, which is to be happy. And that is not possible unless the mind is peaceful. So you reflect on these basic truths that I'm presenting to you, and you'll see. The wisdom of it. So Raja Yoga, I could give you a summary of it. I'll start it tonight, just to briefly summarize it. And that summary of Raja Yoga is referred to as Ashtanga Yoga. Not to be confused with the practice of certain system of yoga, Hatha Yoga, of asana practice. There's a system of asana practice which is referred to as Ashtanga Yoga. What I'm presenting to you as Ashtanga Yoga means 8 limbs, 8 steps to yoga, to the experience of who you really are. The first 2 limbs are Yama and Niyama. Yama means vows that you're taking. You're resolving, having that resolve to gain control of the mind. In order for that to be possible, you have to observe certain basic rules or basic conduct in life. First is truthfulness, satyam. The very first instruction of spiritual life, of yoga, is truthfulness. To be truthful, to be honest, sincere, straightforward. Be truthful. And this should be your resolve. Be aware of how you're living your life. If you live a truthful life, everything that you do is based on truth, you'll find that it will be easy for you to be happy. You'll not experience this agitation and corruption in the mind. So you practice truthfulness, honesty, sincerity, straightforwardness, non-injury, ahimsa. Resolve not to injure any creature, any living creature, not only human beings, any living beings in thoughts, in words, in deeds. This I'm presenting to you is the ideal. It should not discourage you. And if you resolve to uphold these vows, these resolve, then you'll find that immediately you'll start to feel freedom, happiness, experience peace. Non-covetousness. Not to covet what doesn't belong to you. Enjoy, appreciate what you have, and strive for that which you know will benefit you, will help you to evolve. But you don't have to poison your mind by coveting it. Aspire. If that's your aspiration and you know that it's going to help you to live a meaningful life, that you practice. Non-covetousness. Non-stealing. Not to take what doesn't belong to you. Or else, if you have any conscience, it will fester in you. You will not have peace of mind. If you want something so badly, and you be very straightforward, you ask for it, beg for it, borrow it, don't steal it. It shows a very noble character to ask for something that you don't have, and with humility and sincerity, people will see that and they'll give it to you. Isn't it? A person who don't have food to eat, they can beg for it, ask for it, instead of stealing it. So all of this is for help you to maintain that shanti, peace in your mind. Brahmacharya means discipline of the senses. On a more ideal, high level, it's called celibacy. It doesn't mean that you're going to get tension and stress in your life. According to your station in life, you involve with the senses, but don't overindulge, because it's not going to enhance you. It's only going to deplete you, degrade you. So this subject of celibacy and so on is a very involved subject, but not to be stressed about it. With the practice of yoga, you can sublimate this divine energy. It's not suppressing it. So these are the 5 vows that you are taking. And to help you to uphold it, we have what is called the niyamas, practices. So you're involved in study. The kind of study is to study what we are doing here, study about who am I, what am I. Starting, a very convenient place is starting with the body, to know your own body. Know the laws that govern the health, and so on. And when we talk about body in yogic terminology, it's not just the physical body, astral body, causal body, which we'll get into later. So, purity. Purity in body and mind, contentment, study, purity, contentment, study. Contented with what you have, don't use it, make use of it, exhaust this use, strive for more, but first appreciate what you have. Or else you'll be hankering all the time, complaining all the time, but be joyful, happy with the blessings that you have. So much to be happy about. It's like counting the stars at night. So very easy to be happy. Most times people are unhappy because they just focus on the few things that they don't have and ignore all the blessings that they have. Study. Purity, contentment, study. Study is like what we're doing here. You study about yoga, meditation, study about higher reality, and so on, and how to experience that state. Austerity means practice. So you're not just studying theoretically, you're studying, understanding, and you put it in practice. Then you experience the effect of this study and practice. Dedicating the fruits of your actions to God means that you do your very best in your study and your practice. And be satisfied that I am doing my best. You, for your own self, should know that I have done my best today, my Lord. Please help me to do better tomorrow. So it's called dedicating the fruits of your actions to God. That's what it means. So like this you'll find that continuously you'll be experiencing the effect of these practices and this study and your resolve. In fact, that is all you need to do. Most religions, this is all they teach. Moral and ethical disciplines. And these should be practiced regardless of time, place, and circumstance. These are basic rules of conduct that human beings should be aware of and should be involved in. It so happened because we don't have right guidance and we're not involved in right practice that we swerve away from what is good, what is beneficial, truthful, what will lead you to the higher goal in life. And even that people are not aware of. What really is the goal of life, purpose of life. When these basic truth and knowledge is not there, then we just exist, following the trend, and get caught up in a way of life that only leads to more and more suffering, pain, more agitation in the mind. However, in Raja Yoga, we try to accelerate this process. So we say the third limb is asana. Your experience is that you try to sit there comfortably and the body is screaming at you. Your ankles, your knees, your hips, your lower back, upper back, shoulders, neck, everything is distracting the mind. So we find out that it's not such a simple thing, even though asana means a steady posture. But I say not just a steady posture, a steady vertical posture. Because those of you who are practicing yoga, you find a shavasana very steady. You can stay as long as you want in shavasana, but it's not conducive for meditation. So, steady vertical posture. And this is how it's expressed in the scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna tells Arjuna that sit with the spine, neck and head held vertical and do not move. Be steady. In Raja Yoga you're told that do not give way to the tendencies of the body. The moment you give way to it, you'll be moving all the time. So you practice steadiness of body. And with the approach that we have, we call it Sampoorna Yoga. You're involved in an integrated practice which helps to accelerate this process of refinement and purification. Very easily, very quickly. I mean, quickly is a very relative term. When people hear quickly, they think immediately. But depending on what your practice is, whether it is mild, medium, or intense, and that depends on your nature. So here you are exposed and encouraged to be dynamic in your practice. At the same time, you won't create tension and stress. So this integrated study and practice help you to accelerate this process. Then the fourth limb is called pranayama. Pranayama means the control of the life force, prana. First you learn how to harmonize it, balance it. The Hatha yogis strive to gain control of the mind by gaining control of prana. So when you reach that state through the practice of breathing exercises systematically, you learn how to control the prana and learn how to direct it. So this control and direction of prana is called pranayama. So in the beginning stages, you get involved in asana, and pranayama means you do postures, you do breathing exercises. Then you're encouraged to pay attention to diet. A yogic vegetarian diet, it doesn't have to be complicated. But if you understand that you're striving for that sattva, that state of purity, then you'll see the wisdom of making adjustment in your diet. And with the practice of yoga, you become more and more aware of the effect of certain kind of food on your health. Whether the food is creating health problems or it is helping you to be more healthy. So these four practices, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, these are practices that you're involved in all the time, right? And to the extent that you are successful in this, that's the extent to which your mind, when you sit, you say, I sit for meditation, you'll find that the mind naturally becomes withdrawn. And that state is called pratyahara, withdrawal of the mind from the senses and withdrawal of the senses from external stimuli and objects. Now when the mind is withdrawn, what do you do with it? Where do you focus it? So we encourage you, focus the mind at the Ajna Chakram, the point between the eyebrows. They will tell you, books and so say, oh, that's not Ajna Chakram. Ajna Chakram is a point when you draw a line from here, projecting from here, back and through the ears, and where the two intersect. It's called the pineal gland and so on, that's third eye. But then it becomes complicated for most people. It's easy for you to focus at this point. Right? So when the mind is withdrawn, you focus there. It's called concentration. That's the sixth limb of Raja Yoga. When you find that just focusing your mind there, the mind has a habit of wandering. So you give it something to focus on. And the recommendation here is Ishta Devata. Ishta Devata means your chosen ideal. So remember, there's a science that I'm explaining to you. It's not a religion. So chosen ideal in Raja Yoga, so many different things are given that you can use. But it's a habit that you will have to keep jumping from one thing to another, this thing, let me try this, let me try that. So I encourage you, what is your concept of God? What is your relationship to God? Who do you relate to that reminds you of God. So whoever that is, it has nothing to do with religion. If Jesus you hold as your God, then that's your ideal. Buddha, Krishna, Rama, these are just examples I'm giving you. For each of these ideals there is a name we call a mantra. If you say Jesus don't have mantra, then Om Jesus, Om Rama, Om Krishna, Om Buddha. Of course there in Buddha, Om Mani Padme Hum, Rama, Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Krishna, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. If none of those I appeal to you because you feel that I don't belong to religion, just simply keep your mind there and mentally repeat Om. It's a very abstract and universal symbol of the Lord of love. And the continuous repetition of the mantra is called japa. You can repeat it vocally, verbally, audibly, or you can mentally repeat it. You can use the rhythm of the pulsation of this point. You don't have to be stressed about it, oh, I don't feel the pulsation. Just keep your mind there, mentally repeat the mantra. As that continues for a while, you develop this one-pointed focus, concentration. It will lead you naturally into that state that is called meditation. So meditation is a state that you reach. It's not something you're doing. We just loosely use the term, let us meditate. But almost everything that you're doing, all the disciplines that you call yoga, is really to bring you to this point where the mind becomes calm, steady, peaceful. And then naturally you glide into that state that is called meditation. In that state you lose awareness of time and space, only the experience of peace will be there. If that continues unbrokenly for about half an hour, you will naturally glide into the fourth state that is called samadhi, nirvana, turiya. In other words, you're transcending this level of duality, everything that is distracting and disturbing the mind, and you have direct experience of who you are. There are terms that are used, self-development and so on. The self does not need to be developed. It is pure, perfect. One with the Father. Thou art that. You are divine. But you're not aware of it. So the awareness, the direct experience that thou art that is called samadhi, nirvana, turiya. It's called self-realization, God-realization. From here on, it doesn't matter what the words you're using, what terms. These are just trying to give you an idea of what it is. And that experience cannot be conveyed to anyone with words or ideas. It is to be experienced, even though volumes are written about it. So that is the 8 limbs, the 8 steps to yoga. Means uniting your individual consciousness with supreme consciousness. I don't like to use those terms because it's not uniting one thing with another. It is becoming aware of who you are, that you are divine. So I will end by asking Rasa to sing us a song that is appropriate. Because every time I give a lecture, she has the ability to condense it in a few verses and putting it in music. I just, not too long ago, I completed a project, 108 ragas. So I gave her a project to compose an English song in one of these ragas.
In each of the ragas?
In each of these ragas. So she really has, along with so many other projects right now, I finished my book on Hatha Yoga. It's called Sampoorna Hatha Yoga, which is starting from the very basic, beginning, going step by step, because Hatha Yoga is a step-by-step scientific practice, which will take you through this journey, process, to that state of enlightenment. So not to confuse Hatha Yoga as just postures. So that is what that book will guide you and encourage you to relate to Hatha Yoga as a complete practice for enlightenment. That's why I call it Sampoorna Hatha Yoga. Later on, depending on my karma, I may write a book on Sampoorna Raja Yoga. I already have a book, Sampoorna Nada Yoga, of which the 108 ragas is part of that. I have so many materials to present in that project. So next I'll try to finish that project. And then God's willing, I'll continue. And the objective is to make all the sciences very simple, straightforward, step by step. But remove the superstition, illusion, delusions, and so on, that people are involved in. Om Shanti. So you sing for us, Rasa?
Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Buddha, 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 Hare Mahavira, Hare Mahavira, Hare Mahavira, Hare Mahavira, Hare Mahavira,